Let's go. Welcome back to day 2 on the S2000 suspension work. So in the last video, we went ahead and pressed out our compliance bushings from the lower control arm, and we've got them loosely in place now. And then in today's video, we're going to be installing a used set of springs to get our car some low. So here are the springs right here. It is a set of Swift springs on stock AP2 dampers. These are already pre-assembled. I got these used off a friend, so this should be a pretty quick install, and hopefully we can go ahead and close that wheel gap. I know it's on jacks right now, but the wheel gap hopefully will close a little bit, and the wheel gap should close a little bit. I know we're on jacks right now, but it should close that wheel gap just a little bit and help with our wheel fitment, because right now it's kind of a weak fitment, if I'm gonna be honest. I bought these wheels before I did suspension, mostly because the tires were already shit and I didn't want to die in the rain. So we got brand new wheels and tires first before we did suspension. Kind of backwards if you ask me, but we're gonna make it work. So in today's video, we're gonna go ahead and work on this car. It's gonna be a really easy install. The hardest part about this install is gonna be the rear, if I'm gonna be honest, because it's a lot of pushing down in order to get the shock out, but we'll get there, no worries. So yeah, let's go ahead and jump in the front and get started right here. First thing we are going to do is remove a bunch of ABS bracketry and lines, and they are going to be 10 millimeters, and they're gonna be along the upper control arm, and then there's gonna be a bracket inside here. So let's just go ahead and remove all of that. With the ABS line and the brake line off, we're gonna take a 17 mil and undo the upper control arm, and that'll swing the hub out. So be ready to catch that. With the upper control arm out, all that's left are two 14 millimeters up top. So we'll go ahead and get those loosened up as well. All right, with the top 14s undone, this should just go ahead and drop right out. And here you go. We have the old suspension, and now we're just gonna go ahead and toss on the new one. Everything pretty much in reverse order. All right, here you can see our old versus new. This is our old one. Our new one is going to drop the height a little bit, and you can see on the bottom it's a little more progressive of a spring. So hopefully it should translate into some good handling characteristics. We are going to start things off by getting the top side mounted in, and then we'll go ahead and hold it in place with the 14s that we took off. And then with the top part of the suspension in, we're gonna go ahead and start lining up the bottom of the strut with the lower control arm. Okay, and then we'll go ahead and start the bolt in. We're not gonna tighten anything yet. We're gonna tighten the entire suspension once we put some load on it. So we're gonna leave things sort of loose for now. So now that we have the bottom of the strut in, we can go ahead and reinstall our upper control arm. And that is a coilover / spring install on the front of an S2000. It is a really quick and easy job to do. Basically from here, once things are loosely tightened, you're gonna wanna take a jack underneath here, jack the suspension up until the body just barely lifts off the jack stand. And then from there, you will torque everything down, which we will do after we do the rear suspension next. So I'm gonna hop over to the rear and then show you what you need to do for the rear. All right, time to move on to the rear. To make your life easier, I would recommend, if you're able to, remove the sway bar and links. So we're gonna go ahead and do that real quick. Okay, so we got a little carried away with cleaning up some of these sway bar threads with some thread chaser. I would highly suggest, if you're down there, go ahead and clean those threads, because they will be a pain in the butt to take off in the future if you ever need to take them off. But without further ado, we've gone ahead and done a couple of things. So we're gonna start in the rear, and we started by removing this center cross brace here. They're held on by a couple of 12s here. And the rear suspension, you can see right there, those are 14s holding them. The passenger side is very easy to get to. The driver's side, however, is very tight in there. I don't know if you can see that one right there. You can see one bolt, but the gas filler neck is kind of in the way. So what you got to do is take out 3 8mm here. I've already done that. And then there's going to be a 10 mil right there holding that gas line in, and then you should be able to just go ahead and freely move this out the way as you need. So yeah, that's gonna be that. We're going to go ahead and take off the top strut bolts here because we're already here. We got access to them, so let's go ahead and take care of that. I lost my 17, where'd I put my 17? With the top portion of the suspension off, we can go ahead and undo this shock bolt here. The 17. With that bolt out, we should be able to just push down on this and remove this entire shock. So let's go ahead and push down. And there you go. And then we'll grab our new one and put it in. Okay, with things in place, we're gonna head over to the top here and start the 14mm by hand so that we can have this sort of loosely mounted, and then we can get the 17mm bolt back in, and we'll be done with the rear. This entire car is honestly pretty easy to do suspension-wise, as long as things are relatively clean. With the top hats on, we should be able to just push down on this control arm a little bit more and get this seated in place. Okay, this part, getting the lower strut bolt back on, was probably the hardest part of this so far. I basically had to put my entire weight on this suspension and do a little gymnastics to get this in. But we got it. It took a lot of effort, and we'll go ahead and loosely put that on. Whew, that was a workout. And then we'll repeat the same thing on the driver's side, and then once we're done, we're gonna go ahead and torque everything up. So I'll catch you guys once we finish that suspension. Oh my God, I am so tired. Whew, alrighty, everything is done in the rear. Now we just need to go around and clean everything up, make sure everything is torqued down. So the torque specs that we're going to use for the front, the upper control arms that we took apart are gonna be torqued down to 76 foot-pounds. And then for the lower suspension bolt for the front and rear, I believe they're gonna be torqued down to 46 foot-pounds, and then the top hats are gonna be torqued to 36 foot-pounds. Pretty simple. The only thing you gotta keep in mind is when you are torquing these parts down, make sure you jack up the suspension part you're torquing down until it comes off the jack stand a little bit. That way your suspension is preloaded. So without further ado, let's go ahead and torque things down, and then I'll show you the final result tomorrow, basically, because I still have one part that's coming in the mail that we'll be getting tomorrow. Once you put that on, we can lower the car and show you how it looks like. I'll see you guys once we torque things down. Okay, so we've got the springs on. We've had them on for now about a couple of days, and we've got the final alignment sheet right here. But I'm gonna quickly go over the entire car here in a second. But basically, it rides pretty well, honestly. Like, it's, so you can see the height here. The height is really pretty nice. It's about like a 2-finger gap in the front and a little bit more in the back. And I mean, it sits really nicely now with these wheels on. I know I got the wheels before we lowered it first, but thankfully the spec that I had looked up for these wheels fit very nicely. So in terms of alignment, we are left with negative 2.5 in the front, 7 degrees of caster, 0 toe in total for the front, and then in the rear we're at negative 2.1 degrees of camber in the rear, and about an eighth of a toe, about 1/8 total toe in. So that's the alignment, and that's the lowering spring right there. So yeah, I'm really happy with this product. Both of these cars are now on Swift springs, and it rides really amazingly. It rides very similar to how stock would be, just a tad bit firmer. The rebound, I think, is a little too stiff. It does kind of oscillate a little more over certain bumps. But otherwise, I mean, it rides basically like stock. Like, The only change I would do if I could do this again is maybe put on some Coney shocks, and then it'll kind of help cancel out that rebound. But for what it is, I'm very happy with it. So if you guys found that video entertaining, be sure to hit that like and subscribe button, and check out my Instagram at QBeauty. Be sure to drop a follow. And with that, the only thing suspension wise I want to do to the AP2 is to do a front sway bar to counteract the oversteer nature tendency, especially now that we have a square setup. It's gonna have more grip in the front, but we'll do that after autocross. We'll see if we have oversteer issues in the first place, so that's gonna be a later thing down the road. Aside from that, I still need to put in my Cusco roll bar, which we already did for this silver one right here, so be sure to check out that video on the install. Silver one is torn apart right now. Not making a video on this, it's just getting work done basically. So yeah, but without further ado, I mean, that's the car. So yeah, I'll catch you guys in the next video. So peace out, take care.